Hey, this is John Rookarn here with the inaugural episode of Screw the W2, starting off as a YouTube show, and we'll probably upload to a podcast platform of some sort. But I wanted to get a little more traffic on my YouTube channel. Also, really wanted to do a kind of a sidebar from my Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast that obviously I talk about various investment, asset protection, travel, kind of expanding your life, if you will, from alternative investments to investing overseas to asset protections via trust, whole life insurance. And that's just a few of the topics that I've touched based on my podcast with Wealth and Freedom Nexus. Now, like I said, this is kind of a little side project I wanted to do, nicknamed appropriately Screw the W2 or Screw the W2, as in regards to the typical job, typical paycheck that I think all of us are, I don't know, trained to get, shall we say, from an early age. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work hard, save, et cetera, et cetera. You've heard all the drill. And I think a lot of us really want to, shall we say, have more freedom in our life, more control over our schedule. We've all had toxic work environments, toxic bosses, and I will definitely share my story, which led me to leave the W2 or say screw it and go on my own and start my entrepreneurial journey. And this is actually coming out to you here on September 3rd, 2022, which is actually my 3-year anniversary that I said screw the W2. It was actually supposed to be October 1st, 2019, but that's a whole nother story, which I'll get into here. So, like I said, with this, basically, I wanted to bring a separate channel, separate story to you every week, in which I would bring on other entrepreneurs that made the jump from employee to self-employed or full-time investor, or really just said, I'm not going to be handcuffed by a job, by a toxic boss. I'm going to do my own thing, sharing their stories, their fears, what held them back, what made them make the plunge, any regrets, just to share additional stories of what's out there, what's possible, the pros and the cons. Let's face it, I'll be the first to admit it's not for everyone. Some people are just fine with collecting that paycheck, going to work, slaving away and going home, and they don't want to set up a new tax ID or open up a business checking account or anything like that. So for myself, I'm actually going to take you a little back. So I've, shall we say, been kind of a workaholic since I was 11 years old. Soon after my dad passed away in 1994, shall we say, was always kind of a hustler, but, started mowing lawns, doing more chores around the house for allowance. That led into paper route and my first full-time job at Sam's Super Value in good old Slayton, Minnesota. From there, everything from, let's say I've delivered phone books. I have, people probably wondering like, what's a phone book? We actually delivered those before the days of Google was prominent and smartphones. Did research for a bank, computer classes, really kind of did a, number of self-employed pursuits, if you will. But I've always been, since I was 16, really had my first W2 job. Later on, after I graduated college, my first full-time slash real job, if you want to call it that, was with a company called Best Business Products. Started with the company, let's see, this is October of 2007. So started selling copiers, printers, basically just hardware sales, territory, give or take about 90-mile radius from Marshall, Minnesota. Fast forward to, let's see, this is May of 2011. We were actually bought by a different company that was employee owned. Great thing. Nice thing about employee owned companies. You actually take part in with the profits. You actually own shares in the company, and was really nice because every year we get a little statement that said, you have X number of shares. They went up this much in value. They are worth now X. And by the way, based on your compensation, salary, whatever you may call it, then you will get these additional shares. And here's what your new account balance was. And that just went up and up and up, and talked to numerous people. I remember in, let's see, 2012, I think the average, and granted, averages get skewed, average plan across all the employees in the company was about 100 and, let's say, 138, 137,000, somewhere like that. And reason I remember that is that was actually a trivia question at a sales retreat that I ended up getting the closest answer, whatever it was, and won a Kindle Fire. Strange, I can remember something like that from 10 years ago. But if my wife says, "Hey, grab me a Coke," 10 seconds later, I forget about that. But anyways, so, with this company I was with, I really felt, I am home. This is where I'm going to stay. This is where I'm going to be, for decades, and I'm going to retire with a nice 7-figure retirement plan. There was a help desk employee. Don't want to knock him down per se, but was there for many, many years. And he had a 7-figure balance with kind of an entry level salary job. So it just really went to show, that the employee stock option plan really was a good benefit for all the employees. So I was like, hey, I'm here, I'm home. And so fast forward to 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Bumped up my pay. I was, salary plus commission, sometimes commission only. There was a number of changes in the commission plan over the years, or compensation plan, I should say. Really good benefits. I did put in a lot of hours. Give you kind of some extremes. I remember I was still covering territory in South Dakota. So for a while, I remember every Tuesday I would get up at 5 a.m., get ready, hit the road about 5:30 a.m., get to Watertown, South Dakota about 7 in the morning. Usually there was a networking meeting that I attended. I think it was once a month, if I remember correctly, but really wanted to get to Watertown at 7:38, start hitting the streets. I would be there and usually leave, 4:30, get back home at 6, eat supper, pop open the laptop, answer emails, do proposals, do that till like 10 o'clock at night. And that was really my life. And yeah, it was a lot of hours, burn the candle at both ends, but hey, making good money, good spiffs, good benefits. And hey, every dollar I bring in is basically a percentage of that will go in my ESOP, which will grow, by X amount year after year. I mean, this was just, really all sort of the plan. So, this was, kind of the way of life, if you will. My territory did change a number of times over the years. Granted, I'd say about 2013, 2014, I was starting to get burned out a little bit with, I was essentially covering 2 territories. And thankfully, about that time, they ended up hiring a full-time person out of Watertown. So I kind of split up my territory a little, wasn't driving as much. 20, 25, 30,000 miles on the road certainly wasn't or 35,000 miles a year was not unheard of for me when I was at my sales job. So this actually brings up to 2015, which I got to preface it, for that year was actually the highest compensation year I ever had. Made 6 figures plus, like I said, the ESOP, the retirement benefits, etc. Health insurance was really good, so really couldn't complain. 2015, it's like, man, this was really a good year. And I should also back up a second. Many of those years, all but one at this time, and that's a whole nother story. I actually hit my quota, so thankfully the company I worked with, they had a nice bonus package where you hit quota and they would go on a trip every year. So let's see, 2013 was the Hard Rock Cafe or Hard Rock Hotel in the Dominican Republic, Punta Cana. There's a couple trips to Mexico. Let's see, there was Atlantis and Bahamas. Those are kind of the most memorable ones, I should say. So, anyways, just to give you a little bit of backstory, our fiscal year went from November 1st to October 31st. Why? I don't know. It was always that way. And so a lot of my workers were always kind of, or customers, coworkers were like, well, geez, John really must love Halloween. He's always looking forward to October 31st. It's like, well, no, that was the end of our fiscal year, trying to make all the quotas and all the gates for, copier sales and printer sales and whatnot. And, November 1st started fresh. And I was kind of right on the line for a couple of things, and I didn't want to take anything for granted. Previous year, I actually didn't meet quota because, long story short, there was a sale that was going to close no matter what by the end of the year. Didn't make quota, such is life. So I was not leaving anything to chance. There's a couple things that were kind of on the edge. So it's like, all right, the delivery guys are behind schedule. They're booked up for the month of October. I'm going to deliver some of my own machines because actually one of my top 10 customers, that was a large bank. I think I upgraded like 6 of their locations, their machines at locations that year. 5 or 6, I can't remember. But anyways, I ended up driving, I think installed like 3 machines myself all in one day, just to make sure everything got out the door, make sure everything got installed, and then hit my quota. And like I said, 2015 was the highest compensation year I ever had my entire career, and never was able to surpass that in 2015. So as I was driving along, ironically, I remember it was Highway 212 in Minnesota. One of my coworkers called me up. It's like, hey, did you watch that video the CEO sent out? And I'm like, well, no, I'm, driving, I'm doing installs. And, this is before unlimited data really had taken off, and didn't even have Wi-Fi connection where I was at. So it's like, no, I haven't watched the video. I'll probably watch it when I get back. Why? What's up? And he said, oh, well, we sold the company. Okay. And I'm still not sure how I didn't just drive off the road when I heard that. Like I said, we're an employee-owned company. Told numerous times by a number of the higher ups. One of the guys even said, we will never sell, we will never sell, we will never sell. And well, we sold. And sold to a private equity company nonetheless, which I'll get into that a little bit later. But just remember, talking to my coworker, and I was just like, what in the world just happened? I've been doing this for 4 years with this new company. I had really started to see the growth of the ESOP. I really felt there was going to be just this huge retirement bucket for me, when I hit the retirement age, and just really started to uh, just was in disbelief. It really took me a long time to accept it, get over it. Now, the nice thing, if you want to call it that, with it, the private equity company essentially bought our shares. Essentially, they told us whatever you have in your ESOP account, the payoff will be roughly about double, and they split it up into 2 payments. I think there was like I want to say like 90% somewhere in there was like all at once, and then there was a carryover. I think we got that last payout like a year later. Anyways, so this was getting in the end of 2015, and I was just thinking like, okay, well, all right, we don't have the ESOP. Well, God, it was nice while it lasted. And okay, now they're going to bring the 401k, they're going to have a match in with it, and they've updated some of the plan options. I don't know, maybe we'll just see how this goes. And okay, going to 2016, it's like, all right, such is life. We got bought out. There's nothing I can do about it. Yes, we're employee owned, but 10% of the employees owned like 58% of the stock, and they made the decision, and so on and so forth. And such is life. So then we get into 2016. There was a number of changes because I thought, okay, we're just bought by another company, so be it. If you heard anything about private equity companies, if you want to just even Google private equity companies, you'll find lots of stories where essentially they just come in and many times just gut the operations, cut staff, pinch pennies, and of course with us, change the compensation plans. And through a number of metrics of what they started changing for compensation for certain machines, trade ups, as well as the ESOP, my total compensation essentially got cut in half from 2015 to 2016. So that right there wasn't exactly a good feeling. Thankfully, so this is where I really kind of started thinking, maybe I won't be here for the rest of my life. Maybe, uh, things might take a different turn. As we go into 2016, and like I said, compensation has already been cut. My good friend, who was my boss at the time, ended up getting fired basically with nepotism. The company, there was nepotism bleeding left and right. It was employee owned, but there was a number of families that kind of ruled the roost, if you will. And our regional director was buddy buddies, childhood friends with the CEO. Didn't know anything about the tech industry. I don't know why he was hired in the first place, but he basically just said, "Yep, I don't get along with the sales manager. You are you getting rid of him, or are you getting rid of me?" Well, his, I don't know, push, his whatever you want to call it, influence, if you will, uh did that, and they basically fired a sales manager that was a really good friend of mine. I'm still very good friends with him to this day. He got the boot April 2016. This was someone that had oh geez, I want to say like 30 years experience in the business, everything from the service industry to the sales industry to various machines, various contacts and everything. I mean, he even still had some sales number of sales clients. Even though he was a manager, he still handled it because the clients were like, I'm not dealing with anyone other than him. So yeah, he was sales manager, 95% of the time, and door-to-door sales, if you will, about 5% of the time. So that was kind of the first step. And then, like I said, the regional director, he essentially he didn't know his head from his ass. I'll just be honest. It was well known within the Sioux Falls region of South Dakota. Had a big mouth, shall we say. Owned some minor sports teams. He job hopped a lot. Had numerous titles, numerous uh, big bucks titles, if you will. I heard after the fact that he cripes it. I know it was well in the six figures he got paid. I don't remember exactly, but then they also even paid for like his golf membership because he was going to bring all these big wigs and close some deals. So it was like on top of all his benefits, on top of his sales. I think it was like a $5,000 golf membership paid annually that is employer covered. So it's like, yeah, why not keep him around versus the sales manager that knows everything about the industry? So that was kind of maybe the second point, is like, okay, we're really starting to see some changes. And this is just 6 months after they announced the sale. Just the environment's really starting to change. Numerous people were starting to leave at this time and continue to leave. It was kind of revolving door. I remembered one statistic that there were more employees that left. Golly, don't remember exactly. It was like more employees left within an 18-month period than the previous 18 years. I mean, it was just so dramatic. And, these weren't, entry level people. These weren't people that just started and, well, I've been here 6 months. I went through my internship, I'm headed off. I mean, these were very well seasoned, sometimes decades careers with the company. Some of them, I'm sure they got their payoff from the ESOP, like, all right, that's it, I'm done. But just was a really different environment. I could go hours and hours on all the numerous instances that, it's just a toxic work environment. I could not stand it. And 2016, I was kind of thinking, I think it was actually summer of 2016, there was a bid proposal for a school district. And I remember when I learned that we weren't awarded it, and I thought, well, there's I'd say about a 99% chance that I won't be around for the 2021 bid. So if you read my story on my website, I won't rehash that here, but since late 2014, I really kind of started to look at investments, alternative investments. In 2016, I really started making a lot of life changes. I actually bought one of those evil whole life insurance policies that you're never supposed to get, per Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, some of the other talking heads out there. Honestly, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. My only regret is that I opened it in 2016 and not 2006, which is why little side topic, about 2 weeks after my son was born, purchased him a whole life policy right out the gate. And there's numerous reasons for doing that at a younger age, which you can check out one of my previous podcasts, appearance number 2 with Barry Berksby, if you will, where this is one of the reasons to get whole life insurance, especially on kids. So, here we are in 2016, and it's like, okay, started listening to podcasts, started researching. And I started to think, well, maybe I should look at this real estate investing thing. I've heard really good things about, but geez, I don't really know anything about that. So, I've shared on numerous podcasts, took out my contributions from a Roth IRA that I started at age 19. That was the bulk of the down payment for a fourplex in Marshall, Minnesota. And August of 2016 was a real estate investor and started from there. Actually, now I think about it, I think it was that same month I also got the whole life insurance policy and just started kind of dabbling in alternative investments, notes, precious metals, real estate syndications, private lending, so on and so forth. And just was like, well, maybe I'll just, try this out. Fourplex worked out really well. Fast forward to 2018, bought my second property. This was off the market or not in the MLS. To this day is still our cash cow, duplex up in Wilmer, Minnesota. Ironically, I still remember we closed on that, and then the next day we flew out for our 10-year anniversary, did a nice cruise to Bahamas and Cuba, and then back to Florida. So strange, again, how I remember some of these things, but then something from yesterday I'll forget about entirely. So 2018 had started my expanded my real estate empire. Thankfully, at the time, 2016 was kind of a low point, but I really started concentrating on the, shall we say, high margin, low maintenance accounts, if you will, and really start concentrating on the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your accounts. And I guess just kind of worked smarter than worked harder. And in fact, 2018, as we're closing out that year, I had a record month, record sales month in September of 2018. Actually broke my previous record in, let's see, this is December of 2011. And the 2018 was the highest revenue year I've ever had. Highest gross margin percentage in dollars. Think actually, yeah, I did keep it. So gross profit percentage, I was just over 43%. So really it started to kind of get back on track. It's like, okay, I still wasn't quite where I was in 2015. Like I said, 2015 was a banner year, best year of my career for commission. Plus we didn't have the ESOP anymore, but I don't know, things are starting to get a little bit better. And actually I should back up a second here. The regional director that I could not stand, he was actually let go. Higher ups finally realized how full of shit he really was and gave him the boot. So that alleviated a lot of the toxicity in the environment, if you will. So I kind of like, okay, well, still stick this out. Middle of 2018, I want to say, is when I first kind of kicked around. It's like, maybe I need to just have an end date. And originally was thinking, well, maybe the end of 2018, I'll have maybe if I can get some more passive income streams, maybe I can find another job, do a transition. My wife was finishing up her doctorate, so she'd be working full time, so there's a lot of cogs in the machine that I was trying to line up. But middle of 2018, I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I'll look at the end of 2018. And then I was kicking around. It's like, well, I think month to month, I'll just, take things 1 month at a time, see how 2019 goes. And, like I said, I had a record year for revenue, best revenue year in my entire career, best gross profit, best gross profit percentage, hit my bonus, hit all the gates, yada, 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 did really well. So I figured, well, let's just see what 2019 brings. And for sure, fall of 2019, my wife will be starting working full time, and maybe see where life takes me at that point. So, like I said, I've kind of highlighted a number of reasons why I decided to eventually say, screw the W-2, as the change in ownership, the ESOP going away, being owned by a penny pinching private equity company, huge turnover of, longtime employees and coworkers. Also with all the changes, more and more customer complaints, which of course, if anyone out there is in sales, whether it's a billing issue, a service issue, a delivery issue, a fill in the blank, whatever issue it is, all those complaints go right to the sales guy, even if you had nothing to do with it or nothing to, uh, you weren't responsible for it at all. You're the face that the customer sees, so you get all the complaints, and definitely was seeing an uptick in them. And sometimes you could do things about it, sometimes you just couldn't. So that's the way it was. So, like I mentioned numerous times here, I was thinking, okay, I really need to start thinking something else. I'm 100% sure I'm not going to be here for the rest of my life. I am not going to make this a career anymore. Even with the demonic regional director gone, and some things had changed. My income had started to pick back up again. Just I don't know. Definitely looking for an exit, but didn't have a date set, so to speak. And was thinking about, end of 2018, maybe just like as a cut off a year starting in 2019, was starting to, kick around getting my real estate license, but then decide, well, going into 2019, I'm just going to see how it goes. Fast forward to 2019, then purchased my third property. It was a condo in Tucson, Arizona. Mutual benefit to have a place to stay. My wife has family down there, so we're in Tucson quite a bit. Actually, at the time of this recording, we're going to be leaving next week to go down there for a week, so Ronnie can see his great grandparents and grandpa. Week free stay at our condo there. But obviously I have a place to stay, but then rent it out when we're not there. Kind of dive into the short-term rental market, which at that time was just kind of starting to pick up. Then kind of nosedived 2020 with COVID, and has really picked up if you talk to anyone with any short-term rentals. And what's kind of nice is you can kind of flip-flop from short-term, switch to long-term if you need to, but short-term rentals, you can make a lot of money. So anyways, January 2019, excuse me. And so we were going to close on this April of 2019 down in Tucson, meet with the sellers, off markets, wasn't listed, got a really good deal on this, fully furnished, actually inherited some renters that were going to be repeat renters for a couple years after that. And so I, talked to my boss. It's like, hey, we're going to go leave on the weekend, and we get back Tuesday, I think it was. So 4-day, short trip weekend, and Monday and Tuesday. And my boss, my direct boss, I should say, he had no problem with me taking vacations. I was good at my job. I hit my numbers. Like I said, 2018 was a banner year. 2019 started well out the gates. Had a lot of things in the hopper. So January of 2019, put in my request, hey, I'm gonna take this vacation in April. And I did have vacation set up in March, and he approved both of them. He said, hey, not a problem. Well, then, shall we say, problem after that. This was, let me think here. Fast forward to beginning of April. So it was like a week or two, I think, before you're heading out. And out of the blue, I think his official title, if you will, I think it was president of Copier sales. He had a couple different titles over the years, but he just decides, yep, I'm going to come to Sioux Falls. We're going to have a regional meeting. Everybody comes in. It's going to be that Tuesday night. And I was like, well, that's great, but we're coming back from Arizona. I'm not going to be able to make it. And so I declined the invite, and just, okay, not a big deal. Hey, I already got my vacation request in. I put it in 3 months ago. It was approved. Shouldn't be a big deal. And ironically, I still have that. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Bear with me. I got a number of screenshots I took from my Copier days. should have had this ready before I queued this up. So yeah, with the Screw the W2 YouTube show, this is definitely not edited, not scripted, or very, very minimally scripted. That's if I swear, so be it. No editing, and so yeah, this isn't highly polished. I just kind of wanted to get the content out there. So let's see. So this was, let me see here. Yeah, so Sunday, April 7th, the email went out of Copier team meeting and division updates. Doesn't that sound impressive? And keep in mind, most of this crap could easily be done by, conference call, WebEx. We didn't really have Zoom back at the time. I was not a big fan of driving 3 hours round trip for a group meeting that was going to last an hour, hour and a half anyways. So I just, declined it. It's like, sorry, I won't be able to be there. And his reply, if you're not 100% of quota before, then you are expected to attend. You can't possibly be on vacation since you just got back from one. That was his reply. And I was kind of like, okay, well, you're not my boss. You're actually my boss's boss, essentially. And my boss had no problem with it. And he, long story short, he was a little miffed at the, sudden change in plans because he had to get daycare for his kids lined up because his wife was working the night shift that day. So I just replied back. I said, hey, we fly out Saturday. We're back in Tuesday for a closing. Have had on my calendar since late January. And I even said I'd be happy to attend via phone, WebEx. If there's division updates, hey, send a WebEx link. We've done this numerous times. I'm happy to attend. I just physically won't be able to be there. And this was probably the final moment where I said, this is done. I'm out. Okay, don't bother. I'm reading the email that he sent. It was at 9:16 that night. I'm concerned you have too many distractions going outside of work. This only, let me zoom in on this. This only furthers that concern. I think you need to consider if you want to focus on real estate and investing or with us. I'm not a fan of the distractions when we've had plenty of underperforming years going on in southern Minnesota. I say this for two reasons. One, did I not just say I had a record year in 2018 across the board, sales, gross profit? That's how companies make money, is based on profit. And I did not handle southern Minnesota. I handled southwest Minnesota. So, he's almost merging it with another territory with, ironically, there was another rep out of another city, never hit quota, never, well, I shouldn't say never, very, very rarely was mentioned, even for a good month of sales. Never hit quota trip the entire time I was with the company. Somehow he was just good friends with this individual. He got a pass, whatever. So it's like it, kind of back to that whole nepotism. The company culture was very much kind of like high school. You had your cliques, you had your favorites, you had your non-favorites, etc. And blah, 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 blah. Take out this account. It only gets worse. This account is one we would have regardless if we had a rep in town or not. This is actually a huge account that I covered. And I was the one that lived right in Marshall. So, of course, I tended to a lot of their needs. Coming over email, I'm sure this sounds harsh, but that's okay because I've been concerned for a while now. Your numbers are decent this year. Decent. Through February, and you slipped in March as you came in 50% of forecast. Side topic, the company was very tight on month-to-month forecast, and things change. I mean, deliveries get rescheduled. The customer says, hey, I want to push this out till April. Hey, this piece is on back order. Sometimes it's a stand that the copier goes on. You physically can't move the copier unless you have the stand. Things happen. It's just the way it goes. It's like, okay, 1 month you might be over, 1 month you're under. At the end of the day, I just care about what comes at the end of the year. I would prefer someone that is 100% focused on work and putting 40 to 60 hours per week into our business and growing it in Marshall, and that's just not happening. I'll let you and my boss and my boss's boss work it out. But I'm disappointed you're leaving again on vacation after just getting back and that you are distracted from what we pay you to do. No response to me is required. That was the shall we say, the motivational email, so to speak. And I'll just say it out. This guy was just an absolute asshole. Of course, he was the younger brother of the CEO, gets away with everything. Interesting. He talks about the vacations. He would constantly go out to Vegas for extended weekends, gamble. He'd do work trips down to Florida to golf, overseas to check with our vendors, but then also, you know, working some personal time. He constantly be taking, Fridays off and go to a Twins game, go to the Vikings game. Hey, we be showcasing, we got the whole sales crew up at the Twins box or the Vikings box or whatever the case may be. So it's like if he can take all this time off for gambling and whatnot. And it was interesting too. So he's kind of calling me out with the real estate investing. That's apparently this was not okay. But like I said, our regional director that was fired, he owns some minor league teams. And if he worked 20 hours a week, I'd be surprised. That was okay. Our previous VP that had retired, I think a year or two before, he did a lot of seller back financing, contract for deeds. He had a really nice retirement account. He was very, very heavily invested in real estate. Numerous others that were that as well. Didn't have any problem with that. Like I said, there were some of his buddies that I could count that it's like, these guys haven't hit quota like ever, and they're never, put their feet to the fire. So it's like, this is where I started to think, okay, this is basically like high school where you got your cliques, you got your favorites, nepotism, double speak, all this crap coming on. I got this at night. I just came unglued, and to say I was pissed was the understatement of the year. I showed that to my wife, and she said, "That's it. We got to get you out of there." I called my boss, left him a message. Ironically, he had actually gone to bed early. I remember him talking to him in the morning that he had like a nasty flu and took some cold medicine. He was out early and didn't see the email, didn't get my voicemail, nothing. So, of course, I go to bed steaming. I wanted to talk this out with my boss and figure out, it's like, okay, what's the way to go? Because I was ready to walk out right then. So, this was the next day, again, before we traveled to Arizona. Talked to my boss, and it's like, hey, if this is the case, this is how you feel, I'll walk out right now. And my boss basically said, no, we need you. You're a great member of the team. You're doing well. You're hitting your numbers. You had a great year, a record year last year, yada, yada, yada. No, we want you to stay. But so he kind of talked me in. I don't know what he said to, I'll just call him Mr. Asshole. In fact, actually, that's how I got his cell phone listed in my phone in case he ever calls again. I don't know what he said to them. I don't know how he backed off. And even after the fact, he even admitted to me, yeah, there was nothing at that meeting like you couldn't have done just by a WebEx or anything. Is like, you had your vacation time planned out. I've approved of them. You're doing well. Take your vacation. End of story. But excuse me, that was really the moment. It's like, all right, you took away the ESOP, you fired one of my good friends. There's been big turnover, more customer complaints, more I'll just say clusterfucks that are happening in this organization, losing customers. I'm getting tired of getting chewed out by customers for things that are not my fault. And then you come down with this that I can't attend a meeting because I put in a vacation request 3 months prior that my direct boss approved of and had no problem with. And this is what it comes down to. So then I was like, all right, I got to come up with an end date. So this is where I really put pen to paper. I had kind of like my little checkbox of things I wanted to get accomplished, how much I wanted to have in reserves, certain debt paid off before I left. And I said, it's like, maybe I'll put it for October. Let's see, this was September 30th, 2019. That was going to be my end date. And then I figured it's like, hey, it'd be 12 years exactly that I would be in the copier industry. Ironically, 1/3 of my entire life in this industry. And I figured, I think that'd be a really good end date. So ironically, I wrote up my resignation letter. I think it was after I got back from vacation. I wrote it up then, even though I wouldn't turn in for quite some time. And then I just kind of looked through my funnel. I looked through what I had in the hopper, what I had scheduled for like lease expirations, lease renewals, and stuff for the end of the year. And I just hit the pavement. It's like, all right, I'm upgrading everything that I possibly could think of and getting paid on this before I, take off, so to speak. And sure enough, let's see here, just going down the pipeline here. Fast forward to May. So let's see here. Yeah, started to have a couple of good weeks. One of my top 10 customers actually had, let's see here, $85,000 in net new business, I might add. This is just for 1 week for, let's see, this was May 11th, it looks like that. And number of good sales, no big records, but started to do a lot of nice upgrades. Actually, I think I had 3 6-figure sales months before I left. And just going down the pipeline, had a really good paycheck. Actually, one of my last paychecks in August from a lot of big upgrades. It's like, all right, this is it. We got a lot in savings, plenty of reserves, paid down a lot of debts. Already started research to get my real estate license. Already knew which brokerage I was going to go with. And being the, I didn't know there was a word for this, but there's the acronym DINKS, double income, no kids. And especially my wife starting full time at the local college, we, had substantial amount of savings. And long story short, in September, let's see, September 2019, closed on our first turnkey property with Spartan Invest. Closed on our second one. I think that was November of 2019, also with Spartan. And then early the following year, our first one with Mid-South Home Buyers in Memphis. So really kind of doubled our rental portfolio from 2018 to early 2020. Early 2020, really started to kick up the passive income, started to refinance properties, additional cash flow. And with that extra cushion, I really could see kind of the runway of like, this is what passive income brings you. It's freedom, it's time freedom, it's the pleasure to do what you want with life and structure the days you want, and kind of live the way you want, if you will. Kind of nice thing is I really don't have a boss. If I want to work hard one day and then take a week vacation like I am next week, I don't need anyone's permission. I just, take off. I don't need to worry about snotty emails from Mr. Asshole saying you need to be here because you're not at 112% prorated quota year to date, divided by the growth rate of our exponential sales or some other stupid metric that come with. So fast forward to September 3rd, I handed in my resignation letter, and this actually got really interesting. Excuse me. So I wanted to be, really courteous. Numerous employees and numerous sales guys, even before me, they gave their notice. It's like, hey, I'll stick around for a month, kind of pass the baton on, finish some outstanding items, clean up Salesforce, introduce my replacement to all my customers, yada, yada, yada. And again, my boss is perfectly fine with that. But then back to Mr. Asshole, he's like, nope, you're done today. So they accepted my resignation as of that day, September 3rd, not on the 30th. Actually, that night, my email was shut down. And then it's like, all right, I guess I'll just bring my laptop and printer and all my work stuff, drop that off the office, and then I'm done. And still remember that September of 2019, it was just a really, really interesting feeling, if you will. Just so much pressure off my back, not needing to check emails, update Salesforce, and work with all these, complex micromanaging tasks, so to speak. I still remember the first visit to my chiropractic that I had visited for years. First visit after I turned in my resignation, was no longer working full time, where I did say, screw the W-2. First thing he said, wow, you're actually adjusting really well. And then kind of backstory with my neck would actually always be so tense from pressure, stress, riding in the car for tens of thousands of miles. And I was actually able to crack for the first time ever both sides of my neck. And both of us were just astounded, like, what in the world just happened here? And I still remember the chiropractor saying, I have talked to a lot of people, I've worked with a lot of people, I've treated a lot of people, and a lot of times we just don't really understand how much stress we're under, how much stress affects us, how much stress really can do damage to our bodies. And we just get so used to that. That's what life is like. And that's what we get used to, I guess you want to say. That once we're out of it, then whether it's, blood pressure dropping, which mine did, easier adjustments at the chiropractic, and just, overall relaxed. It was just such a weird feeling after 12 years of just kind of go, 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 and, being on the road and pushing sales and, trying to knock down quotas year after year, or trying to get the monthly budget numbers to make the higher ups happy. It was just such a relieving feeling. And then I was on my own. I had a number of side hustles, my contract research I was able to devote more time to, started my blog and website, wealthandfreedomnexus.com, soon afterwards. Got my real estate license. Been doing numerous transactions every single year, from helping first time home buyers, also working with some investors, and even just doing kind of like side projects, like what they're called buyer broker price opinions. Banks wondering what their asset or what this house is worth. So a real estate agent goes out, takes some pictures, run some comps, get paid for that. So, kind of in closing here, just kind of wanted to share my story of how 12 years in a industry, like I said at the time, it was 1/3 of my life, from age 24 to age 36, that I was in this industry. Made a lot of money, made a lot of good connections, made a lot of friends. Still talk to a lot of my what they start off as customers. I call them friends now, to this day. Some even, transferred in that they're that I'm the real estate agent as well. So, the good, the bad, the ugly. If it was not for the passive income streams that I had coming in, this obviously we talked about real estate and added a few more to my portfolio since I left my W-2, but then also real estate syndication, private lending, fractional notes, dividends, private investments, really just cash flowing investments, passive income, cash that comes into my account every month, every quarter, that I'm not working for. And by the way, is actually taxed less than W-2 income. If it was not for that, I definitely would not have been in the position to say, screw the W-2. I'm doing my own thing. I'm becoming self-employed, and I'm going to be in charge of my destiny. I'm going to be in charge of my schedule. I'm going to be in charge of my life, not a, micromanaging boss, not a higher up private equity company, nothing like that. So, in closing, that's my story, and this is getting released here. Like I said, on my 3-year anniversary that I said, screw the W-2. Like I said, this has been unscripted, minus a few notes I got up here, and then obviously the emails I read. Has been unscripted, unedited, uncensored, if you will. Yeah, I might drop some swear bombs every once in a while. I really don't care. But then going forward, like I said, I plan to release these episodes once a week, bringing on other entrepreneurs to share their stories of what their previous work life was like, what their previous job was, what they're doing now, how they did it, suggestions, motivations for others out there as well. We're starting to see and continue to see kind of this great resignation of people leaving toxic work environments, which I've been there. I'm very much in favor of that and really wish that everyone would do that. And I really hope that my story, as well as the stories of other entrepreneurs and people that I bring on this show, really just can help others, inspire others to maybe just take that final jump, work on their passive income streams, work on their financial statement, their net worth, their balance sheet, just to get to the point of saying, hey, I'm able to leave this job. There's no golden handcuffs holding me back. There's more to life than just this paycheck. Actually, in closing, I'll just recall a quote that my father-in-law said when my wife left to toxic work environment back in 2014. And he put it best is no paycheck is worth your health. And I think if there's anything we have learned for, especially over the last 2.5 years with COVID, and, obviously that affected pretty much all of us, some more than others, that, life is too fragile, life is too short. We should not be slaves to a paycheck, to a micromanaging boss that doesn't appreciate us. We should be able to live life on our terms, live a life without limits. And like I said, hopefully this inspires you to say screw the W 2, and whether it's self employment, opening up your own business, maybe starting a part time hustle, slowly easing into it. I mean, kind of like I did. I started my real estate investing journey in 2016. It wasn't until 3 years later that I said, that's it, I'm leaving my job, my safe and secure job. And like I said, feel free to reach out with any questions, comments. Feel free to comment below. Hit like, subscribe, share. Hopefully, this can get out to numerous people. I'm doubt I'm the only one out there that felt this way at a job, or feels this way at a job. And like I said, life is too short. We just need to, get out, fully experience life, and really the only way to do that, to have that freedom, have that flexibility, is build up passive income streams, multiple passive income streams, real estate, royalties, dividends, stocks, private investments, et cetera, et cetera. Many of these opportunities you can check out on my website. Just go to rickgarn.com. It'll redirect you right to it. And that's kind of my mission in life, is just to educate others to structure a life that works for them. Say screw the W-2 and keep working on those passive income streams. With that, I'll be back with you next week with my first interview with another entrepreneur that said screw the W-2. And like I said, I'll be doing that each and every week. First release to YouTube, maybe to a podcast later on. I'll see about that later on, but be sure to hit that subscribe button, and got a bunch of interesting stories coming your way. Thanks again for listening, and take care.